मुकर्ररे खुदा में रज़वी हो.
Today, if we look at our environment, our society, our community, we will see that we are living in this very ultra-modern and ultra-Western world, where sadly we allow our nafs to dictate what we do and what we don't. The dunya and the time has become so westernized, so ultra-modern, so ultra-Western, that we have become so lost in this dunya that we allow our inner self to dictate this is right or this is wrong. We forget that it is not about what we think is right and what we think is wrong. It is that which is commanded by the Shariat Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is right. Not because if there are 100 people, everybody will think this is right and this is wrong. That is why we are governed by the greatest constitution. And that is the Holy Quran and the Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So in this modern and Western time, we are allowing our nafs to dictate, we are allowing our nafs to tell us what to do and what not to do. And we have become so lost and so absorbed, so drowned in the world and its traps of deception, that we waste our time, valuable, precious time which Allah gave us. We waste our valuable time, our precious time in the vices of the dunya. And because of this, we have become very distant from our true purpose in the dunya. What is our real maqsad? What is our true purpose? We have become very far away from it. We have suddenly forgotten that this dunya is only a passageway and it is a conduit. Sadly, we have forgotten that this dunya, which we are living in and which we are so absorbed in, is actually just a passageway, it is a conduit. And it is a passageway and conduit for what? For the hereafter, for the grave. And that grave that we are going to enter, it is the first stage of the hereafter. It is the first stage. You know, when you're going on a long journey, you have different stages. Your first stage of the hereafter, my first stage of the hereafter is our qabr. That is the first stage of the hereafter. And instead of striving to do good things and to look within ourselves, we are caught up in the strife of this dunya and allowing shaitan to overwhelm us. We are allowing shaitan to have the better of us, whereas we should, every one of us should be concerned about our grave. Everybody should be thinking about our qabr, that what is going to happen to us there. Whatever we do here, it's going to impact the hereafter. Whatever gunah, whatever wrong we do in this dunya, here, it's going to impact our hereafter. And the first stage is the qabr. If it's going to impact us there so severely, what is going to happen in the next stages? That is why it has come in the Hadith Sharif that that person who's successful in that first stage, in the grave, the rest of the stages become easier upon him. But it all depends on what we do here. It all depends on what we do in the dunya. The problem is that we want to make the deen of Allah flexible. That is the biggest problem. We want to make this deen flexible and compromise what Almighty Allah and His beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam commanded us to remain steadfast on. That thing which Allah and His beloved Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told you to stay established on, that thing you want to compromise. That thing we want to make flexible. And Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have commanded us to be steadfast and firm in the deen, to have a jazba, to have passion, to have pure sentiments about the deen of Almighty Allah. But we want to be flexible and compromise in that which Allah said, be steadfast. And when we find those who are trying to do what is right and be steadfast, then the dunya makes them the target of their attacks. We mock somebody who is doing what is haqq, what is doing according to the Sharia. What is the reason for that? Because shaitan has overwhelmed us. You know, I think we have forgotten And I think we need to remind ourselves. We have forgotten the sacrifices of the Sahaba Kiraam, the Qurbanis of the Sahaba of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have forgotten their jazba. We have forgotten their passion. We have forgotten the passion which they had for the deen of Allah. We have forgotten to at least take one page. We have forgotten to take at least one page from the numerous and countless chapters of the lives of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and try to act according to that. Try to live our lives according to that. Imagine if you take one page only from the life of the entire chapters of Siddiq Akbar. One page. And if you try to make amal upon it, do you know what will happen? You will attain such success that you never dream about in your life. The noble companions of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know who these Sahaba are? The noble companions of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam held the deen of Almighty Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam closer to their heart than anything else. More than the dunya, more than their wealth, more than their family, more than their children. The closest thing that they held to their heart was the deen of Allah Almighty. With deep love and unshakable iman. Profound love for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And with unshakable iman, they were willing to sacrifice their wealth. They were willing to sacrifice their families. They were willing to sacrifice their own lives. For the sake of what? For Islam. For the sake of Allah's deen. And you must remember, their sacrifices were not just acts of courage. This was courage, indeed, it was bravery. When 313 Sahaba went in the battle of Badr against so many big armies, when in Uhud the Sahaba fought against the big armies, it was indeed their courage. But the sacrifices were not just acts of courage, but it was expressions of true devotion. It was expressions of their jazba, of their love for Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's why we have been taught that none of us should allow their efforts and their sacrifices to ever fade from our heart. It must always stay close to our heart. Those who kept Allah's deen closer to their heart than anything else, shouldn't we keep them close in our heart? Shouldn't we think about them? But it is sad. We are so busy seeking worldly success and chasing this dunya. All of us, except those whom Allah has given divine guidance to be saved from it. We are chasing success. We are chasing this dunya. We are running behind this dunya. And we have forgotten what is the meaning of real success. What is the meaning of real kamyabi? Ala Hazrat Azimul Barakat, Imam Ahle Sunnat, Shah Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Fazle Barelvi, radiyallahu ta'ala an, reminded us how to look for the real success and which is the path that we should follow. He says, Ahle Sunnat ka hai bera par ashabe huzur. Ahle Sunnat ka hai bera par ashabe huzur. Najm hai aur nao hai itrat Rasulullah ki. What does he say? He says the Ahle Sunnat's ship, the Ahle Sunnat's flotilla of success are Mustafa's companions of eminence. The Ahle Sunnat's ship and ark and flotilla of success are who? Mustafa Jani Rahmat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's companions of excellence, eminence. He says, like stars they are, while Rasul Pak's noble family are arks of deliverance. In one hand you take the Ahlul Bayt, and one hand you take the Sahaba of Rasulullah Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam. Today, we should remind ourselves. I have to remind myself, and I have to remind you also about their jazba, their firmness in the deen. Remind ourselves how firm they were, how much fikr they had for the deen of Allah. You know, I'm going to give you one example. Let's see how time goes. If there's enough time, we'll do the second, otherwise I'll give you one example today. Sayyidatuna Sulaym. Sayyidatuna Sulaym bint Milhan is one of the noble Sahabiya of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Sulaym radiallahu anhu. You know, today we hear in our community the youngsters, the girl wants to marry our Muslim girl wants to marry a Christian boy. A'udhu billah min dhalik. Want to get married with a Hindu boy. The Muslim boy found a Christian girl, found another non-Muslim. Say why? How many of our youngsters are running behind the kuffar today? Are we not seeing it in our community? Hell bent on marrying kuffar and unbelievers. And you know what the excuse is? I'm in love. I'm in love. What kind of love is that from which you fell out of love of Allah's deen? You don't love Allah's deen? You don't love Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How can you say I fell in love with somebody who has dushmani for the deen of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is not love. This is tabahi. This is destruction. Sayyidatuna Sulaym bint Milhan radiyallahu ta'ala anha, the Sahabiya of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam, during the zaman of Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, she was married to a person called Malik ibn Nadar. She was married to a person called Malik ibn Nadar. She wasn't a Muslim. He wasn't a Muslim. And then she accepted Islam. She accepted Islam. How she accepted Islam? She became a Sahabiya because she accepted with the Iman and while looking at the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She accepted Islam and she is one of the earliest Ansar to accept Islam amongst the women. And after accepting Islam, you know what she did? She invited her husband, Malik ibn Nadar. She said, I have become a Muslim. Now you become Muslim also. She said, I became Muslim. I want you to listen. And he says, she said to him, I'm inviting you now. You also accept Islam. He became furious. And he refused. He refused. He said, I will not accept Islam. He left her out of enmity and out of resentment for Islam. He left her. And he went away to Sham. He went away to Syria, to Damascus. Left her alone and he went away. Where he was eventually killed by the enemies or some enemy of his there. After he died, Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Talha radiyallahu anhu. Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Talha radiyallahu anhu, he was not a Muslim as yet. He also was not a Muslim at that time. Abu Talha radiyallahu ta'ala, he came and he proposed to Sulaym bint Milhan. After her husband was killed, when he went away, he was kafir, he was killed. So he came and he proposed marriage to Sulaym bint Milhan. Now she is a Muslim. Abu Talha was not yet a Muslim. It is stated, and this riwayat is from Sayyidina Nadar ibn Anas radiyallahu anhu. He says that Sayyidina Abu Talha radiyallahu anhu sent a proposal of marriage to Sulaym. So she replied to him, Oh Abu Talha, the proposal of people like you. In other words, he had a very high standing in the Quraysh. Very respected. But he was not a Muslim at that time. So she said, Oh Abu Talha, the proposal of people like you cannot be refused. But there's one problem. Abu Talha said, what's the problem? She said, you're not a Muslim. In that time, in the time of persecution, she said, you are not a Muslim. So my nikah cannot take place with you. I cannot marry you. So he said to her, if I do want to marry you, and if you do agree, what is your mahar? What is your mahar? If I do agree to marry, if you do agree to marry me, and I accept and I want to marry you, what will be your mahar? Sulaym bint Milhan, she said, Abu Talha, what do you think is my mahar? What do you think is my mahar? Abu Talha at that time said, Sulaym, gold and silver. Sulaym, your mahar is gold and silver. Sayyidatuna Sulaym radiallahu ta'ala said, I do not have any need for gold and silver. My mahar is that you must accept Islam. My wish is that you must, Allahu Akbar. My mahar is that you must accept Islam. He said, who will assist me? She said, go to Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Abu Talha, at that time still not a Muslim. He goes in search of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he finds the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam seated amongst the Sahaba Kiraam. As Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sees Abu Talha coming, he says, Abu Talha is coming with the glow of Islam on his forehead. Abu Talha is coming with the glow of Iman on his forehead. He came before Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He accepted the deen of Almighty Allah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed his nikah to Sulaym bint Milhan with the mahar of Islam. With the mahar of Islam, he accepted Islam. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed his nikah with the mahar of Islam. Hazrat Sayyidina Thabit radiallahu anh says, we have never heard of any mahar so unique and exalted as the mahar of Sulaym radiallahu anh. Think for a moment. Think of her jazbah for the deen. Think how she felt about this deen. The jazbah of the Sahaba. The passion of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a hadith in Mishkat reported both from Bukhari and from Muslim. This is the same Sulaym bint Milhan. This is the same Sulaym bint Milhan that when the beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to visit her home, she would lay a spread of leather, animal skin on the ground. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to go in that private chamber and he used to rest there. And when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to rest there, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to perspire a lot, pasina mubarak of Rasulullah. This is that same Sulaym who asked for Islam as her mahar. That Sulaym, she used to see, one day the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw her, that she's taken a bottle and she's gathering all the perspiration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw, he said, Sulaym, what's this? What are you doing? She said, Ya Rasulullah, it is your blessed perspiration. We mix it as our perfume because it is the sweetest of all fragrances. This was their love. This was their honor for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in one riwayat it is said that she said, we hope for its blessings in our children. We will apply it, but it will bless our children in the next generation to come. Now, this was their love. This was their jazba. You know, you look at Al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidatuna Habiba. Al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidatuna Habiba radiallahu ta'ala an is another beautiful example of her jazba. Her passion, her non-flexibility in the deen of Allah Almighty. It is said that she was very steadfast, very devoted, very firm in following the beloved Rasul. Obviously, she was one of the noble wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Habiba radiallahu. She had very strong iman and she never compromised her deeni principles. Never. She practiced in accordance with that which she learned from Rasulullah Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is stated that once before Fateh Makkah, Fateh Makkah is the grand victory at Makkah which was given to Islam through the blessing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once, listen with your heart, simple thing, but look at how deep it is. Once, before Fateh Makkah, her father came to her house, Habiba. Her father came to her house to visit her. And her father at that time was not accepting Islam. Who her father was Abu Sufyan, radiallahu. At that time he was not a Muslim. It was before Fateh Makkah. Because he became Muslim at Fateh Makkah. So this was before Fateh Makkah. He came to visit her, he came to visit his daughter, Abu Sufyan, and entered the private room, the private chambers of Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha. And when he came in to greet her, he made intention to sit. He intended to sit. And where people would sit in those days, they sat on the bedding that was spread out. So he intended to sit. And as he was about to sit on the bedding, she went and she picked up the bedding. What she did? She gathered the bedding, the bistar. She gathered the bedding. And when she gathered the bedding, Abu Sufyan saw her doing that. And he said that, am I not good enough to sit on this bedding? Am I not good enough to sit on it? Think for a moment. This is her father. Her father is telling her that what is the problem? I want to sit on this bedding. What problem do you have? You know how she's responding to her father, Sufyan? How she's responding to him? He is her father to her. He has come to visit her in her house. And he wants to sit on that bedding. Before she even sits, she picks it up and she puts it away. She puts it away and he looks at her and he says, Abu Sufyan, not a Muslim at that, saying to his daughter, who is Habiba, the blessed wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said to her, am I not good enough? Look at her jazba. She says, you are a mushrik. You are a mushrik and you are napak and you can't sit on the pak bistar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the bedding of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot sit on this bedding because you are napak. Look at her jazba. Look at her love for the deen. Look at her feeling for the deen of Allah. Look at her feeling and her love for Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. These companions of the beloved Rasul, I gave you two examples. There are chapters and volumes of examples on how firm they were and unflexible when it came to Allah's deen. Today the dunya wants you to be flexible when it comes to the deen. When it comes to the commands of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I repeat what I say quite often. Today you are here, tomorrow you are in the hereafter. Today we are in the dunya, tomorrow will be in our qabr. All those who patted you on your shoulder and said, do this, nobody will be there. Nobody will be there. Each of us will be answerable in the court of Almighty Allah, but it will start in the qabr. It is the first manzil. Learn from the Sahaba. Understand their jazba. See how much of passion they had. Look at that fire of love that burnt inside them. That flames of jazba that was in them. For Allah and Allah's beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam's deen. If we even take one bit of their lives and we sincerely make amal upon it, then the dunya and the akhirat will be full of barakat. Look at you know how much hard time the Sahaba had? What they went through, how they were persecuted? Look at the hadith of Bukhari. Look at Muslim. Look at Ibn Majah. Look at Tirmidhi. Look at Nasai. Look at Abu Dawud. You will see that our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look at the hadith of Laylatul Qadr. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba, you know when they perform salah? Today we have everything. We still cry. They performed salah in Masjid al-Nabawi when there was not even one mat on the zameen. When the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam picked up his head on that morning, then at that time the blessed forehead of Rasulullah Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam had sand and water because of the raw zameen at that time. The roof of Masjid al-Nabawi was thatched, palm dates. When the Sahaba used to be performing namaz, the water used to drip and fall on top of them. But they still stood firm for Allah's deen. They didn't look at anything, they looked at Allah's deen. They look at, this is Allah's Nabi, we are with Allah's Nabi. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The dunya has made us very weak. We have to look back at the jazba. Look back at their love. Look back at the feeling that they had. Why is it that today people say, I stand up and I make takbir and I'm reading salah, but I can't really get that feeling that I think. Why? Because our hearts are everywhere else. We are failing to appreciate which has come to us from the court of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah give us tawfiq khair. Allah keep us with iman. Let us leave this world with iman.